Hi everybody, this is Luca Discacciati. Welcome to this webinar where we will try to understand how financial markets will perform in the next month. Let me share my screen. I am, as I told you, Luca Discacciati. I'm the co-founder of Forecaster.biz. We are a financial software. You can use it in order to analyze a financial market. And of course, today we will use it in order to try to understand and forecast how financial market will move in the next month. We will cover at least three topics. First of all, we will analyze the S&P 500 in order to understand if we still have upside potential or not. We will talk about commodities because it's very important to analyze commodities in order to understand how the economy is performing. And of course, at the end of the webinar, we will talk also about stocks. And we can start, guys, because as you probably know, because you saw the advertising of this webinar in the previous month, many of the big founder of big company, American tech company, sold a lot of shares. This is, for example, Amazon. And if you scroll down in the overview page, you can find all the insider transaction. And as you can see, you can find that, for example, Mr. Bezos, the founder of Amazon, sold lot of shares in the last month. He's not the only one. He is in good company because, for example, if we go and see the Nvidia company, we can see again in the insider transaction that Mr. Jensen Huang, the CEO and founder of the company, sold a lot of shares. So everybody, a lot of people started in the last month to ask themselves if after a long period of bull market, we are at the top and we are very close to a recession. We are very close to a very important downward trend, okay? Because as you can see, we are on the top prices. We are at all-time high, for example, on the S&P 500, okay? So we have to try to understand if we are close to a crash or we are close to another spike in prices, if we have an upside potential. As always, you have the opportunity to chat with me. The chat is available, and if you would like to chat with me or ask me something, you can do it. So don't be shy. And we can start to analyze the S&P 500 starting from the ranking page of our software, which is something really, really cool. First of all, for every single stock we have in the forecaster terminal, and we cover all the world market, because if you go here in the ranking page, you can see we have, of course, the North America indexes, Europe, Latin America, Asia. I don't know from where you are. Probably you are from United Kingdom and United States, but I don't know actually, but probably we also have the index of your country. Anyway, if we go, for example, to the S&P 500, we can see that for every single company listed in the S&P 500, we have the fundamental analysis. Our software calculate for every single stock the intrinsic value using three different calculation method, okay? And thanks to this calculation, we can obtain what we call the average fair value, which is the intrinsic value for the company, the intrinsic value for the stock, okay? As in this case, for example, we are talking about Apple, and the software find an average fair value of almost $200, which means at the moment the stock on the market is overvalued by 80%. Okay. Thanks to the fact that we have the fundamental analysis for all the components of the S&P 500, but also for all the other indexes all around the world, we can calculate if at the moment the S&P 500 is over or undervalued. And the first important things to understand is that at the moment, even if we saw a bull trend for the last years, we still have an undervalued index because at the moment the S&P 500 is 7.34% undervalued. Okay, so even if we had a huge bull run in the last month and in the last years, we still have an undervalued market. And this is something really important to understand because, of course, we know exactly that stocks goes where the company fundamentals are. Because if we go, for example, on Nvidia, everybody are talking about Nvidia because of artificial intelligence, and everybody says, oh my God, Nvidia is too high, is overvalued. But if we compare, look, very easily, the net income, which is on the chart now, to the stock price, we see that the prices of the stock goes exactly where the net income is. Okay, so the fundamental of the stocks, fundamental of the company drive prices on the stock market. And this is very important because we have to understand, no, don't worry, because at the moment, fundamentally speaking, we still have a bullish potential on the S&P 500 and also on all the other stock indexes all around the world. Of course, we have a different situation between the first 10 shares of the S&P 500, because if we calculate the fair value of the index only of the 10 best stocks, which are Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Berkshire Hathaway, Eli Lilly, and Broadcom, of course, we find a different situation, which is an overvalued situation by 8%, which, guys, it's not something huge. Okay, we still have an upside potential, even if we talk about these stocks that in general are a little bit more overpriced. As you can see, if we calculate the fair value for the top 30 companies, we find an undervalued situation by 4.66. If we calculate the top 50, we find 6% of undervaluation. And if you go for all the stocks, okay, the undervaluation goes up again until 7.34. But the important thing we have to understand is that at the moment, fundamentally speaking, okay, Warren Buffett style speaking, let's say, the S&P 500 is undervalued and we still have an upside potential. Okay, if we go to the COT report, which is something very interesting. If you do not know what is the COT report, it's something very easy. In the United States, there is the Commodity Future and Trading Commission, and every week CFTC publish what they called the COT report, the Commitment of Trader, which is something really interesting because it's a report that help the public understand the market dynamics. In this report, you can find all the positions, long and short, on futures from all different categories of traders and investors. Of course, on the CFTC Commission website, you can find a very old style, let's say, file where you can find the number of contract. For example, asset manager are long on, are short on every specific financial instrument. In this case, the first one is the Canadian dollar. Okay. What we did at Forecaster, we did something great, which is take all the data from the CFTC Commission. It's legal, don't worry. We can do it. You can do it too. You can go, for example, on the CFTC Commission and get all the historical prices. You can download it. It's very simple, and they allow you to download all the data. And we plotted on the chart in a very friendly way and user-friendly way. And what I would like to show you is something really interesting, guys, because talking about S&P 500, as you can see, the asset managers, which are pension funds, mutual funds, and all these big players that invest for the long run in the stock market, as you can see, at the moment, they are not selling their long position because they know exactly that at the moment the S&P 500 is undervalued, is not overpriced. Okay, so as you can see, this is the asset manager and institutional net position. Okay, so long minus short positions. Okay, they are long, they are buying, they are not selling their position. The volume, their net position goes together with the S&P 500 price, which is something completely different from what happened, for example, in 2000. I show you. Oh, sorry. It's something different from what happened, for example, in 2022, because as you can see in this case, while the price of the S&P 500 was rising, look, they started to close down long position. As you can see, we had a downward trend in the net position for the asset managers and institutionals. Okay, and as you can see, when exactly at the beginning at 2022 we did the top, we had at least 6 months of selling pressure from the asset managers. Okay, as you can see, we can find a divergence here between volumes and prices. And this is what happened next. Prices started to drop, and we experienced one of the worst drop in the last years. Okay, at the moment, this is something that is not happening. Big players, big guys, asset manager and institutional are not selling. Okay, so comparing and merging these two information, the fundamental analysis of the entire stock market, of the entire index, and the COT report with the asset manager position, we can definitely say that the market still has an upside potential. Okay, if we would like to try to, let's say, time the market, okay, we can switch, for example, to seasonality. Okay, as you probably know, what is seasonality? Very simple. In the case of the 3-year seasonality, it means we take the chart of the S&P 500 from January to December of the 2023, 2022, 2021, and we do the medium price. Very simple. What happens if you do this very simple calculation? You can see, for example, let's use, for example, the 10-year seasonality. You can see that doing the medium price, okay, the average of 10 years, we can find during the year specific period where we can expect a trend, a specific trend, okay? For example, talking about the S&P 500, as you can see, if we plot the 5-year seasonality, 10-year seasonality, 15 years seasonality, we can find something very interesting because historically speaking, starting from the end of August until the very beginning of October, we can find a pattern, a recurring pattern of a downward trend. Okay, we can find a bear trend during this specific period. Okay, during this specific window. Okay, so everybody now are afraid about this situation because, of course, everybody expect we are on the all-time high, this kind of pattern even this year, because look, in the last 5 years, 100% of time we had this trend, this downward trend. In the last 10 years, 80% of time we had this downward movement, and 66% of time in the last 15 we had this movement, this downward movement. But what people doesn't know, of course we know because we have the Forecaster terminal, which is our software, is that today the S&P 500 is not moving like is historical pattern, okay? Because look, the actual price, the current year price, is not correlated a lot to the seasonality pattern, because the actual price is only correlated 53% of time with the 5-year seasonality, 53% of with the 10-year seasonality, and 51% with the 15 years seasonality. Okay, so at the moment, what we can expect is something different from what happened in the past. Okay, because today the S&P 500 price is not replicating its own seasonality. Okay, and this is something really interesting, because even if prices drop, we can for sure say, well, not for sure, because on financial market, the 100%, I mean, we cannot be sure 100%, because of course we cannot predict the future with the 100% certainty. But we can definitely say that even if the market will drop some point, we can definitely say it will be a buying opportunity, because it's an undervalued market, as I show you before in the ranking page. The asset managers are buying, they are not selling. And look, if we plot all the history of the COT report, they have never been so bullish like today. These guys are really bullish. Look, their net position level never reached the level they are today. Okay, and looking at the seasonality, of course, we can say that in the past, starting from the mid of August until the very beginning of October, we experienced a bad period. But this year could be different because at the moment, prices are not correlated to his own seasonality. Okay? Guys, if you have any question, please write in the chat. I will be more than happy uh, to to talk with you. Okay? So, talking about the S&P 500, which is of course the most important index in the world, and what happened in the United States will be reflected on all over the world. I think it's okay. As I told you, it's very interesting. Later, we will talk about stocks because, of course, with our software, we can find which is the most undervalued stocks for the entire S&P 500. We can make a lot of analysis, and I will show you. I will show to you. But in order to understand how the economy will perform in the next month, of course, we have to talk about commodities. And if we go to the COT report page, here you can find in our software the COT report page. Of course, we have to talk about gold. Okay. If we go and see what is happening on gold, okay, we can find something really interesting, because even in this case, looking what the managed money, which are of course the commodity trading advisor and all the guys that trade and invest in futures for uh, they are professional investors, we can find something very interesting, because look, also in this case, we have never been so bullish like now. Look, we have prices which are rising, pushed by the volume of this category of investors. It's very interesting. Even if we go and we see the long-term chart, we are in a very strong situation, because we cannot see on the chart what we call divergency. We are not in a moment where prices is rising but volume is falling. Okay, prices and volumes are moving in the same direction, and this is why we think that this trend is very strong, and probably it will last. Okay, even of course, if we go and see all the other categories are very interesting, even if we go and see the non-commercial, which is a specific category of traders. We can find in this category also the hedge fund. We can see the same information. Prices and volume are doing the same thing. They are doing in the same direction. And this is something really important, because if prices are supported by volumes, it means that the trend is good. I mean, uh, it's a good trend. Okay, it probably will last. Okay, we can also go to see the crude oil, which is very interesting, talking about the economy. And we can go here and open the crude oil page. And here we have something really important, guys, because if we go and see what is happening on this specific category, which is producer, merchant, and processors, it means this category, you can see in this category the net position, and of course you can see the long and the short position of the producer, merchant, and processor, the companies that produce and process the oil. Okay, so what we can see is something really interesting, and we can really understand that probably the price of crude will increase a lot in the future, because look, all the time in the past that where we had a situation of negative net position, it was a time where we created very interesting lows. And what is happening now is that for the first time in history, we had such a long period with negative net position on oil. And this is something really interesting because, guys, probably in this area, investors accumulated a lot of oil. And as you can see, once the net position goes from negative situation to positive, in every cases in the history, a huge bull market started. And in this case, it already happened here, it's already happened here, it's happening now, and this is why I really think prices of oil can skyrocket a lot, because as I told you, in this case we have a lot of volume which are pumping in the oil, and probably very soon this commodity will start to rise. Okay, and it's very important because as you can see, even if we go and see the commercial, okay, we can find something really interesting, because in all this period, let's see the last 5 years, here we can see a very nice divergence between prices and volume. Look, in this case, volumes are growing because at the moment we have a net position which turned positive, and this situation started in 2023. So we have volume up and sideways movement for prices. This is the classical divergence when prices very soon start to rise, and boom, will go very strong in a bullish trend. Okay, when will it happen? When the crude oil will start to rise? Of course, we have to see the seasonality, because look, guys, what we know is that the current prices at the moment is really highly correlated to the historical performance. So if we go, for example, and we put the 10-year seasonality, let's switch off the 5 and 3, okay, what we can see is something really interesting, because we can definitely know that, for example, we can have a spike in price until the very beginning of the October, but if the correlation doesn't change, we can expect a decline in prices until December. So could be that in December we will have a very interesting situation, and we can go long on oil, because it will be a very interesting moment where the seasonality start to rise again. Okay, and this is very interesting because at the moment the current price is very highly correlated to the 10-year seasonality, and so we can exactly know what we can expect. So from today to the middle of December, we can expect a drop in prices, and then we can definitely say we can we can search in December for a buying opportunity. Okay, very, very interesting. Something else very interesting to understand when we try to understand how the economy will perform is looking at the copper. Copper is something really interesting because it's a fundamental commodity for buildings and all these kind of things. Okay, many processes of economy can be done thanks to copper. Okay, and in this case, we can see something interesting because look, if we watch, for example, the historical chart, we can see that all the previous times where the commercial started to be short a lot on the copper future, like we are experiencing now, a huge movement, long movement started. Okay. And so this is why I think also in this case, we can expect a very important bullish trend in the copper market. Okay. We can really understand that it's in a very interesting view because as always, when we look at the commodity, we have to understand, thanks to the historical prices and historical volume, historical position, which are the dynamics involved in this commodity market. Okay, and this is what we can see on the copper. All the time we have a net positions that drop below zero, drop in a negative situation, we have the condition that let start a bullish movement. Okay, so also in this case, if we go to the seasonality page, we can see something really interesting, because if we plot, for example, the 10 and 15-year seasonality, we can find, of course, we have to put also the current price, we can find something interesting. Starting from the very beginning of October on the copper start, what is a very positive window for a very interesting performance, long performance. What we have to be careful is that at the moment the correlation is very low. So we have to understand at the end of this month, at the end of September, if we will have the condition to replicate this pattern or not. Okay, we have to understand and we have to wait, but watching at the COT report, watching at the commercials positions, we can really understand that the conditions for a rising in prices are preparing. Okay, and this is very nice. If you like to trade commodities, you can also go to our latest tool, which is the quantum screener. The quantum screener is very cool because it gives us all the best opportunities on market thanks to a quantitative analysis. So, for example, if we go to commodities and we ask the system to give us the best opportunity for the next 3 months, and of course we are looking for long trades, look what we have. At the first position, we have the corn future, which is 94% correlated. The actual price is 94% correlated with the 10-year seasonality, with a win rate of 80% and an average return of 7.7. if we open the page, as you can see, this trade already started because we had the minimum in the middle of August. And what we can see here is that we have an upside potential for the next month with an 80 percentage winning percent in the last 10 years with an average return of 7.7. We can also adjust a little bit the situation and we can find an improved winning percentage with almost the same average return. So you can also adjust the situation. Okay, very, very interesting. This is a tool you already have on our software. You can try our software for free for 7 days. You can go on Forecaster.biz and try the software for free. Don't worry, you don't have to put your credit card, you don't have to put nothing. You can just try the software and try all the features we have inside. Talking about the last topic of the day, talking about, of course, stocks, I would like to show you something very interesting, because if you go here to the break-even section, in this section, talking about stocks, you have something really, really interesting, because let's go, for example, only in the United States. What you can find, it's a list of shares that have a common characteristics, which is very nice in order to understand if a company is a good buy opportunity on the market. For example, let's go to DraftKings. Why DraftKings is in this list? Very simple, guys. We are on the fundamental page of the company. Of course, we have also a very quick description, all the links and everything. But what is important, and this is why this company is in the break-even list, is that talking about results, this company, for the first time in its history, closed a positive quarter, okay? This is something really interesting for a company, because the first time a company closes a quarter in profit is always a moment where all the eyes are on this company. And if the company is solid, the company is nice, it's in a good sector, has a good, let's say, potential for the future, probably the prices will rise, okay? Of course, I don't want to go too deep in the details, because of course this is just the first webinar we do together, so I don't want to bother you. But thanks to the forecaster, you can of course go much deeper in the analysis of a company. But it's very interesting, for example, because few days ago, watching inside this list, we found Aspen Aerogel, which is a very interesting company. They produce a very interesting material. For the first time, they turned into profit, a first quarter in profit. And if we go and see what happened to prices in the last days, it's very interesting, guys, because we bought it here on the lowest price in the previous weeks, and boom, in few days we had a huge upside movement that took these stocks to $31. Okay, so very, very interesting. It's a very interesting company. Talking about stocks, you can also go to ranking. Let's go, for example, to the S&P 500, and thanks to this button, which is the best to worst button, tack, in one click, you can find the components of the index you are watching. Of course, we are talking about the S&P 500 now, but with just one click, you have a list of the best company. For example, at the moment, using all our ratio, which are not ours because we didn't invent it, but you can find the formula of all these ratio online, and of course also in the forecaster. For example, at the moment, the best stock that the forecaster terminal return to us is Ulta Beauty, which is the company that Warren Buffett just bought. As you can see, it's very interesting because at the moment it's undervalued, 125% undervalued compared to its average fair value, the intrinsic value. It's very solid because we have the Altman Z score. I don't want to get in the details as I told you, but you can find all the description of what Altman Zeta score is inside the forecaster. So uh, take the opportunity to use it, to try it for free for 7 days. The Piotrowski score is good. Benisham score is good. It means this company is unlikely to be manipulating its earning. Very interesting. Um, Value generation is another section of this page. Here we can see if the company is buying back its shares, if they are repurchasing their own shares, and we can see the efficiency of the company, and the forecaster give us back a feedback about the quality of the company, which in this case is robust. Very, very interesting because just with one click, you can find the best stocks of the S&P 500, but of course you can do it for all the index you want, because if you go to rankings, for example, you can also find the Russell 2000, and you can find much smaller stocks in this case, okay? And if we go back to the S&P 500, we can also find, for example, which is the most underrated stocks. You have just to click here at the top of the column, and you can find, for example, Tesla is the most undervalued stock of the S&P 500. You can also go for the traditional, let's say, ratios, okay? And you can find here also in this case you can click the best to worst button, and of course the momentum. If you would like to see what happened yesterday, for example, you can find the best and the worst performer of yesterday, the same for the last month, 6 month, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and of course you can do the best to worst, and you can find boom, the best company with an average of 6, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year momentum. Okay, so guys, I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I invite you to try the forecaster terminal for free, completely free, no credit card, no nothing. So just have a try, and once you will try, you'll understand if you like this product. But as I told you, it's a very, very powerful tool. It can help you to analyze all the assets all across the globe. It's really, really a nice tool. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Bye bye.